Deep in the heart of the dense Blackwood forest, the village lay ensnared by a palpable sense of dread. Towering, ancient trees cast long, eerie shadows, and the wind whispered unsettling secrets among their gnarled branches. The scent of pine hung heavy in the air, laden with an otherworldly tension that gripped the villagers. Old Liza, a hunched figure with gnarled fingers and eyes like dark pits, was the living repository of the village's most terrifying legends. She weaved tales of the mountain hairy man with a voice that was part fear and part fascination. The children gathered around her, their faces pale in the firelight, as she painted vivid pictures of the creature. Her words etched images of its massive, grotesque form, matted hair hanging like a funeral shroud. As autumn painted the trees with fiery hues, young David ventured into the forest. Determination eclipsed the warnings of the elders as he sought to gather firewood deeper than any had dared before. Time stretched, and the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a sinister darkness in its wake. Yet, David did not return. The village united, forming search parties that ventured into the ever-encroaching night. Their voices echoed through the trees like desperate prayers. As darkness settled in, they discovered David's lantern, still flickering weakly. But their frantic calls yielded only silence. Weeks dragged on, and the hope that had buoyed their hearts dwindled like a waning ember. Then, on a chilling evening, a search party stumbled upon something that would haunt their dreams. Amidst the gnarled trees stood a crude shelter, woven from branches and leaves. Inside, a grisly sight awaited them, a human skull, gnawed and discarded, a grotesque relic of a nightmare. Terror clung to Blackwood like a second shadow, and the whispers of the mountain hairy man grew louder, a relentless, bone-chilling chorus. The villagers stood at a crossroads, torn between the vengeful call for blood and the primal fear of the unknown. Armed with torches and pitchforks, they embarked on a journey deep into the heart of the forest, driven by desperation and determination. Under the cover of night, the search party stumbled upon a clearing, a moonlit arena that seemed almost designed for the horrifying encounter that awaited them. Beneath the twisted canopy of an ancient oak tree, they beheld the creature they had dreaded for so long, the mountain hairy man. His massive form was grotesque, every inch of his body obscured by matted, tangled hair. But it was his eyes that sent shivers down their spines, eyes that gleamed with feral intelligence and centuries of torment. A guttural howl pierced the night, a sound so blood-curdling that it sent shockwaves of terror through the villagers. Torches flared to life, casting twisted shadows that danced like demons as they circled the creature. Fear fueled their rage, but just as they closed in, the mountain hairy man vanished into the inky abyss, leaving them bewildered and trembling in the chilling night. The veil of night descended over Blackwood once more, and the villagers knew that their fate had been sealed. The mountain hairy man had eluded them, leaving in his wake a cursed village. Night after night, his mournful cries echoed through the woods, a haunting lament that chilled the marrow of their bones. Strange occurrences beset the village. Crops withered, livestock wasted away, and a creeping illness swept through the once thriving community. The elders whispered that the mountain hairy man was exacting a merciless vengeance, a bitter retribution for their transgressions. Desperation clawed at the hearts of the villagers, driving them to make a horrific choice. On the eve of the full moon, they selected a sacrificial lamb, a trembling young girl named Eliza. They clung to the desperate belief that by offering her to the creature, they could appease his wrath and shatter the curse that had ensnared them all. The night was an abyss of darkness, the moon concealed by heavy clouds. Trembling hands bound Eliza to a gnarled, ancient tree at the heart of the forest. Her sobs of terror hung in the air like mournful echoes. With hearts heavy with dread, the villagers retreated, leaving her alone in the abyssal darkness, a trembling offering to the mountain hairy man. Minutes stretched into hours, and the forest became a silent, foreboding abyss. The weight of impending doom bore down on Eliza, the eerie hush of the night accentuating her isolation. She could hear the gentle rustling of leaves, a whispering audience that bore witness to her fate. Then, as the veil between the mortal world and the supernatural grew thinner, a sinister presence emerged from the shadows. It was him, the mountain-hairy man. His grotesque form moved with an eerie grace, every movement accompanied by the faint rustling of his tangled hair. As he approached, the very air seemed to grow heavier, laced with dread and anticipation. Eliza's heart pounded in her chest, the sound deafening in the silence. She could feel the creature's eyes upon her, red orbs burning with an unsettling intelligence. The wind carried a mournful sigh, as if the forest itself grieved for the impending tragedy. But this time, the villagers had resolved not to succumb to their fear. Armed with torches and resolve, they encircled the creature, their faces contorted with determination. This was their village, their home, and they were prepared to confront the menace that had haunted their nightmares for so long. With the swiftness of a striking snake, the mountain-hairy man unleashed a horrific cacophony that rent the very fabric of the night. His jaws opened impossibly wide, a gaping maw that emanated a sound so guttural it sent shockwaves of terror through the villagers. The ominous noise reverberated through the forest, a dark symphony that seemed to speak of ancient suffering and anguish. And then, with a movement both grotesque and mesmerizing, the creature's tongue lashed out. It was a thin, membranous appendage that snaked through the air like a sinister serpent. In an instant, it coiled around the neck of an elderly woman, her frail form rendered helpless against its unnatural strength. With a gruesome twist, her neck snapped, and her lifeless body tumbled to the forest floor. The villagers stood frozen in horror, their resolve crumbling before the grotesque reality unfolding before them. The mountain-hairy man's tongue retracted, slipping back into his cavernous mouth like a malevolent serpent returning to its lair. He regarded the trembling crowd with those burning red eyes, a chilling smirk tugging at his grotesque features. A voice that seemed to emanate from the very bowels of the earth resonated from the creature's gaping maw. "From now on," it hissed, "I will choose the sacrificial offering, and it shall be presented to me on this date every year, a macabre tribute to the horrors that reside within these woods." Terror coursed through the villagers, their world irrevocably altered by the night's horrors. With trembling limbs and ashen faces, they fled from the forest, leaving behind the ghastly scene they had witnessed. The mountain-hairy man remained, a sinister guardian of the ancient woods, his mournful cries echoing through the night. Years passed, and the village of Blackwood lived in perpetual dread, marked by an unending curse. No matter where the villagers fled, the mountain-hairy man would find them, exacting his grisly tribute. The date was etched into their souls, an annual reminder of the horror that dwelled within the heart of the forest. June 14th, the dreaded birthday of death, a day when nightmares became all too real.